Heather. This is Alter Digital, and you have arrived to class number 4 in our series on breathwork. So if you have not already, please take classes 1 through 3 before continuing with this practice, and you can find the links to those videos in the description of this class. So let's get into it. Class number 4, and this class is all about why breathing less can help to oxygenate our bodies more. So we have 3 key points I would love to share with you. Point number 1 being, what is a healthy functional breath? So a healthy functional breath is one where we're taking 10 to 12 breaths per minute. So anything over that would be considered a dysfunctional breath. And when we're breathing like that more consistently, this can lead to chronic hyperventilation. Point number 2. Due to what is known as the Bohr effect, when we breathe less volume of air, this helps to increase healthy amounts of CO2 inside of our bloodstream. When this happens, this triggers the hemoglobin to release the oxygen into our bloodstream to be utilized by the tissues of the brain and the body. Point number 3. When we breathe less, more consistently, this means that more carbon dioxide is circulating inside of us, and carbon dioxide is great to reduce inflammation. It helps to dilate smooth muscles. We think healthy circulation and a happy heart. And it also helps to regulate pH in our body, so we think of a healthy, functioning autonomic nervous system. So all that to say that we are learning how to tolerate more CO2 inside of us, and this can be slightly uncomfortable, which is why we need to practice. So let's get into it. We're going to do a little mini session here. This is going to be about 8 minutes long, so I want you to find a comfortable position in your body, preferably seated. So you can do this on the floor like me, you can be in a chair, you could be on your cozy couch, you could be on the edge of your bed. And we'll just start to move our bodies a little bit. So before we get into breath work, as far as my understanding goes, it's nice to do some sort of undulation, some type of spinal movement. So undulation meaning some type of circular motion through your shoulder blades, some type of, again, spinal movement. If you're familiar with the yoga pose, the cat-cow, something where you're extending your spine and flexing your spine. You could also do this with your head and your neck. So we'll just take 30 seconds or so here. The eyes could be opened or closed, but just preparing ourselves to be in a seated position, hopefully in a more comfy, cozy way. Again, you might want to do a little bit of a undulation, like I said, a little bit of shaking out, circling out, whatever you need to do until you feel ready to find a seated shape. Always for our breathwork practices, your eyes could be opened or closed. I tend to naturally want to close my eyes down as I teach and as I go into these sort of techniques and utilizing these tools myself, but do whatever feels natural and easy and comfortable for you. And from our previous videos, which I hope you have taken, we talked about nose breath. So the foundation of all of our breath work, we tend to come back to this idea of utilizing breath coming in and out of our nose, not unless if we're doing a very specific technique, which when you took class number 3, we did that breath with the breath in through the nose and the shushing out through the mouth. So that was for a very specific purpose. So here right now, we're not going to be utilizing, of course, that breath pattern, but just the reminder that we're breathing in and out of our nose throughout this practice session. And from class number 3, we practiced connecting into that movement of our diaphragm. So I want you to remember that session and how we were able to tune into that sensation of our core muscles engaging to help to push the air out of the nose, and how we need to relax the core muscles so the pressure of our inhale comes into the side waist and into the lower core and into the middle part of us. So let's just tap into that sensation for a few seconds here. You may even exaggerate, taking in a slightly larger volume of air so you can feel the breath going low in the torso, out into the lower ribs, down beneath your navel, that pressure of the inhale coming in And that slight contraction of the core muscles help to push the air out. We notice that drawing back of the low belly and a little lift up into the top core muscles. I want you to continue like this a couple more times. Notice if there's tension coming into your shoulders and your neck, and if so, you continue to find a way to sit where your shoulders are relaxed. You're feeling that sensation of the breath entering the lower torso and the lower torso receding once again as you exhale. And so as we continue in this practice today, the idea is that we keep the breath low in the torso like we know how to do, but we start to take in a little less volume of air, still in and out of the nose. And we're going to be in this experiment. Less volume of air coming in, a little less volume of air going out. Adding these subtle pauses at the bottom of the exhale, the top of the inhale. And the practice is, how do we stay relaxed inside of this experience of less volume of air? So we're each experimenting with finding a rhythm, finding a pace. With this nose breath, the breath is still low in the torso, that we can stay with for another minute or so here. The same pace of the breath, in and out. We continue to move towards this experience of a slight air hunger. You're not giving yourself as much volume of air that you're used to, but you can stay relaxed inside of this experience. And this is not a perfect, especially if this is the first time you're practicing this, right? An experimentation and exploration of what's possible. Keep the breath low. The breath is quiet. You can't hear the breath coming in and out of the nose. And we stay with it for an extended amount of time. As we get familiar with this, we can increase the amount of time here, but when we're first learning, it's really nice to take a pause. We'll just take a couple natural breaths. Again, you can come back to some motion in your body, and I want you to be curious about what you're feeling. What did you notice? What's changing? Is there a sense of body temperature shifting? Sometimes when we know we're kind of in that sweet spot of learning how to tolerate more CO2, you can sense more saliva happening in your mouth. Like there's definitely some physiological shifts that will start to take place inside of you. So as we go into one more round, I'll invite you to stay curious about what you notice happening. So as you feel ready, we're going to go into about 3 minutes here of this subtle, reduced breath. Less volume of air coming in and out of the nose. Again, we're going to try to find that sweet spot of staying in that same pace, the same rhythm. And if we test the waters too far, if there's any sort of force, you'll notice that your heart might start to beat and you get like almost more activated rather than staying in a more of a calm place. So that's when you know you need to take in more volume of air in and out, kind of re-regulate. Again, we're trying to stay relatively relaxed inside of this experience and not getting hyped up, not becoming more anxious. This should be more of a calming effect. So let's try it out here. Another 3 minutes or so. We'll call this our subtle reduced breath. If you have not already, it might be helpful to place hands on the lower torso as a reminder to keep the breath low. Let's also rest the tongue at the roof of the mouth as a reminder to stay with our nose breath. Notice how the breath can be so quiet, a breath that you can't hear. Smaller volume of air than you're used to coming in. Find the quiet exhale, little pause. And then just the gentle, subtle volume of air coming back in. Find that rhythm we can stay with. 2 more minutes. And that noticing any shifts happening inside. No forcing yourself to get that quiet, most subtle amount of breath sooner than you need to kind of give yourself. It's a pace way, it's a practice, it's something that we can come back to over the next months, over the next years, we can even say. Learning how to stay inside, relax inside of this experience of a little less. So again, if the heart starts to beat faster, it's a little too uncomfortable, like you feel like you have to gasp for air, we've gone too far. So we re-regulate, couple natural normal breaths, and then you can come back to that subtle, just slightly less than you're used to, in and out. A breath that's almost imperceptible to notice, yet still happening. Sometimes I imagine someone was observing me from afar, they would wonder if the breath was actually taking place. And what's so fascinating, so let's just come back to more of a natural way of breathing, but what I find very fascinating about this way of breathing is that this is the breath that we naturally move into when we enter very deep meditative states. So you might notice, maybe not this first time that you practice when you're trying to learn, but when you integrate it into your life over time, that it can have that very, very calming effect on your nervous system, which I think is really cool. Okay, so normal, more natural breaths, whatever that means to you, but still in and out of the nose, and trying not to gasp for large volumes of air. Just think we're relaxed, we're still, we're pretty much at rest. How much air do you actually need in this moment? It's not a whole lot. So this is the practice continuing, is how much volume of air do I actually need, especially when we're at rest, and to be noticing that. So that would be the practice this week. How much air am I breathing? Do I need that amount of volume of air? Is it just something that I'm used to? Can I play with a little bit less as I go out there and live life? And I would say, again, especially when you're seated, when you're at your computer, when you're driving, these are great times to notice our breathing patterns. So thank you so much. I'm so relaxed. I kind of feel, what do I need to say here? Okay. So thank you. Thank you for being here with me today, for practicing, for exploring. If you're curious to learn more, there's more to come. So come back next week. We have our live classes that come out every Monday. And if you're looking for more breathwork sessions, you can find those at the links in the description of this class. And I hope that was helpful and useful. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to us, info@altermovementstudio.com, or you can put a comment below this video and we'll be sure to connect with you there. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.